following program is sponsored by Michael W. Smith. The views expressed on the following program are those of the host and not necessarily those of staff, management, or ownership.
Phoenix, Brother Mike is back on the radio. Welcome. 20 years later, I'm still on. Can you believe that? Welcome to the radio program. Thanks for tuning in. Today's Bible study, American Serial Killers. Today on Hardcore. Hey, will you call somebody and tell the radio program's on? I got a couple of warnings about how to spot a serial killer in childhood. Do a little bit of psychology today on hardcorechristianity.com. Thanks for tuning in. This is Brother Mike. I'm the professional counselor at the Arizona Deliverance Center. We're downtown on 15th Avenue, just south of Osborne Road. It's a red brick building. hardcorechristianity.com has our website and all of our services. You'll notice we have 2 live services every week, Thursday and Friday nights at 7 p.m. Arizona and Mountain Time. And those services are broadcast on our YouTube teaching channel, plus several other platforms. Okay, youtube.com/House of Healing AZ. We have 2 Zoom healing and deliverance services every week, Tuesday and Wednesday nights at 6 p.m. Arizona and Mountain Time. Send me an email, mike@hardcorechristianity.com, and I will send you the ID code and the password for both Zoom services, Tuesday and Wednesday night. They are the bomb. Our live services all include preaching, teaching, healing, and deliverance at every service. Thank you for coming to the Children's Deliverance Service on November 5th. It was the bomb. The Women's Healing Seminar is November 19th. My teaching class on deliverance, training class, is November 26th. Got a busy month in November. If you need a religious exemption, send me an email, mike@hardcorechristianity.com. I'll send it out immediately. If you need a step-by-step guide to healing and deliverance that works 100% of the time, I will send you the miracle list. Send me an email and I'll send it out right away. Please hit the PayPal button and send us a donation. Please let Sister Karen know on the homepage of the website so she can list your house for sale. Serial killers. Well, that's a strange subject of a Christian radio program. No, it really isn't. Believe it or not, in the United States, as it's slowly being completely taken over by Satan, and as we are now only a few years away from the rapture and the tribulation, this thing's going down. Period. And anybody with half a brain can see it. Anybody who has read the Gospels and the book of Revelations, not to mention Ezekiel or Daniel, knows that the tribulation is just around the corner now. The signs are stacking up like cords of wood. It's quite remarkable. But killing and murder and sorcery and thefts, the Bible teaches, is going to increase dramatically during the tribulation, and it's already started to ramp up as we get closer to the end. Serial killers are popping up all over the place, and I wanted to tell you how you can spot these people even when they're children. Wanted to share that with you today. A serial killer, as you know, is somebody who usually kills one at a time. They go nonstop. A raider in Wichita, example of it. A spree killer is more like the school shooters. They go into a school, they go into a shopping mall, they go to a retail parking lot, and they start shooting all kinds of people. Those are called spree killers. They have a different mindset and a different psychology than serial killers. Serial killers can be much more dangerous long term. Like the Night Stalker in Los Angeles, again, another example. But what you need to know about these people is that you can spot them when they're children. Because serial killers all have 2 things in common. And if you look in their background, if you look at their childhood, you'll see these two things manifest. Number one, they usually come from broken homes, have very dysfunctional families, and have been involved in child abuse. They've been involved in sexual abuse, verbal abuse, and physical abuse as children. Number two, the child learns to enjoy torturing animals or animal cruelty. What happens from a psychiatric appointment is this. The child is being damaged and abused by the parent, the step-parent, the adoptive parent, what have you, whoever. And the child starts to develop deep-seated rejection and rebellion and anger. And they notice that they are able to dominate animals. And so the demons enter the child during periods of abuse, spirits of rage, hate, and murder. And the demons tell the child, look, you're not just a victim, you're the victor. You can dominate animals. And what happens is they start abusing animals as a symptom of the lack of love, the lack of nurturing, the lack of care, and the sexual, physical, and verbal abuse they're receiving from the people that are raising them or the people that are bullying them when they're children. Yeah? And they start mutilating animals. The Humane Society of the United States recently released a report that said 95% of serial killers abused animals when they were young. Robert Ressler of the FBI recently released a report about serial killers and murderers. And he said that it was very common for them to, as a child, be cruel to animals. For example, the Chicago Police Department recently released a report. They did a 4-year study on murderers and people who were repetitively committing violent crimes. And if anybody would know about it, it would be Chicago. Chicago is a living hellhole. They found that 65% of people who were repetitively arrested for violence, crimes of violence, were involved in cruelty to animals when they were young. Give you a couple quick examples. Jeffrey Dahmer had a huge IQ. The guy was extremely bright, almost a genius level IQ. He killed 17 homosexual males, had sex with them, and cooked and ate some of them. But when he was young, growing up, he tortured and killed his neighbor's pets. He impaled a dog's head on a stick. He would pick up roadkill and dissect it and then masturbate over it. He would butcher animals, and he did it on a routine basis. For example, Albert DeSalvo, the Boston Strangler back in the day, he killed 13 women. He also was infected with demons of murder and women hater spirits. And he used to trap dogs and cats in a box and then shoot arrows through them when he was young. Ted Bundy abused animals when he was young. He raped and killed untold number of women, like over 40, I believe it was. All these serial killers were killers of animals when they were young. Carol Cole was arrested for murdering 35 people years ago. When he was young, you know what he used to do? Yeah. He would strangle puppies. He'd strangle puppies. He came from an abusive family. Edmund Kemper murdered untold number of people. As a child, he used to kill cats he found in the neighborhood. And he'd cut their heads off and put them on poles and stick the poles in the neighborhood. He even killed his own mother. David Parker Ray lived in a family of chronic abuse by his drunken father. He was routinely bullied and beaten in school. He ended up killing over 60 people. And many of them were women. He tortured them and raped them before he killed them, several of them in Arizona and several of them in New Mexico. He made a soundproof trailer, believe it or not. A semi-tractor trailer rig. He turned the trailer, made it soundproof, called it his toy box, and that's where he would torture everybody. He abused animals when he was young. Tommy Lynn Sells from Oakland killed over 70 people in California. He was a specialist in animal cruelty. Gerald Stano, his real name was Zinninger. He killed over 41 people. His own mother neglected him to such an extent that when he was given up for adoption, the doctor said he could not be adopted because his personality was on an, quote, animalistic level. If you can imagine that. He was a murderer and killer of animals. Gary Ridgway, the Green River Killer, killed, I think, 48 or 50 women. He was cruel to animals. Charles Manson used to sacrifice animals in satanic rituals. Albert Fish, back in the day, 15 murders, 100 rapes. He used to burn animals alive. Henry Lucas, a monstrous serial killer back in the day, in the 60s, 200 murders. He was someone who was very cruel to animals. So what's the point here? If you spot a child who is cruel to animals and their parents are not correcting him, the Bible says to train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's old he won't depart from it. If you notice that parents allow a child to be hurtful or cruel to an animal, and then they live in a dysfunctional family, if they need help and want it, they're eligible for free counseling services at the Arizona Deliverance Center, 602-636-5800. If you know of a Christian family who is living a sinful, dysfunctional life, and their children are abusing animals, they can come for help ASAP.
The views expressed on this program are those of the host and not necessarily those of staff, management, or ownership. This program was sponsored by Michael W. Smith.